Good morning, Oj. Back to Studio 1 here today. Beautiful January day.
Not even close.
No?
It absolutely sucks outside. It's been like that for 3 days.
Yeah, cold and windy.
Oh.
And you can't even go outside.
Brutal. The only positive, like I told you down at our place now, is that the ice bank has built up to where the water is probably 50 to 100 yards out. Depends on where you're looking. So we got a little protection now from the continuous pounding of Lake Superior against our shorelines, which is good. But it has been a cold, miserable few days, and good to be back in the friendly confines of Studio 1.
On the eve of returning to school.
Oh, we got that too. Should be maybe a cold day tomorrow, just to ease us back in. A 4-day week.
Well, today's shirt, if you happen to notice, the shirt that I'm rocking today.
McBain Ramblers.
Yeah. You guys got a little history there. We got a little history with them.
Yeah, we took a beat. I don't know. It was a close game. Playoffs a number of years back. We went down there and played. They've had some success over the years.
They sure
for
have.
A team that's a school that's not exactly how do you want to say it? I mean, it's a small rural area, but they put together not only in football but basketball as well, both boys and girls. So they've had a lot of success.
Yeah. Well, my connection there with them is when I was a senior, we beat them in the semis to advance to the title game. And the coach who's there now is a good dude. He was actually the other quarterback on McBain back in the day, and he's the head coach there. So I've known him a little bit, but thought I'd rock the McBain Ramblers shirt today.
Well, you look good in it. As good as you can on a Sunday morning anyway.
This is true. Shall we start with a little college football?
Sure, let's get into it. It's been a while.
It has been a while. A lot of significant events to get down to the Final Four.
I remember where we were at when we took our week off. Had Indiana and SMU played yet?
I don't even think so.
Yeah, so what do we want to say about that?
There's going to be some changes to this tournament, right? All four of the teams with the highest seed lost.
Yeah, that's interesting. So they had the bye and all four lost. Indiana and SMU didn't look like they belonged. You can say what you want about it. Boise State, I don't like the way their coach came out and made people, demanded that people respect their program and they proved that they belonged in the tournament. I thought that was kind of I don't know, I just didn't like that press conference. But I'll tell you what, the one coach that came out through all this and is a complete jackwagon in my mind is that guy at Indiana.
He was he's kind of cute at the beginning of the year.
Just an arrogant little prick. I mean, and the way he was handling, when he was up on the stage with those guys, the college football crew, and talking about how they're gonna, pound people and whatever he said. I don't remember what the quote was, but I'm not a fan of that guy. And Indiana did not look like they belonged in that tournament.
Could you Google it? Remember, he was the coach that said, "You just Google me."
That's right. Yeah.
And I said he was, just to kind of piggyback with what you're saying. It was kind of cool at the beginning because the underdog and doing well. But the more he goes, I think I'm with you. I don't think he's at the top of my list anymore.
Yeah, there's something up there. So Notre Dame, put a whooping on them. Penn State, that game was over midway through the first half. It was pretty much done. SMU did not belong in that tournament. So I don't know how they change this or what they do, but number one, it's going to be seeded. Like you had mentioned that you got to seed it. You can't just give these teams that opening bye. So I don't know. It's crazy. But the other thing I don't want to hear a bleepity bleep thing from anybody from the SEC. Zero, nothing. I don't want to hear a thing. Not that we have a lot of SEC followers.
Well, there's one SEC team in the tournament. Oh wait, this is their first year in it.
Yeah, that's exactly. Texas does not count yet. But everybody's saying, well, hey, Alabama, they got to be in there. Tell me Alabama's not going to put forth. Well, first of all, did you watch Alabama against Oklahoma? Going back a little bit.
I did watch part of that, and they got boat race.
And number two, they got physically beaten by a depleted Wolverine team. Was that a gratifying win or what? I mean, where does that rank on the list?
We listened to that. We were driving back from downstate, and I listened to it, and I couldn't believe what was happening. That's what I said. I knew you were watching it. And I know you had all intention to just kind of have it on while you're doing your thing and that. And after the second turnover in the first quarter, I'm sure you're in a lazy boy chair driving your wife nutty.
Yeah, I was when it was that game. I mean, it was almost a carbon copy of the Ohio State thing. But the fact that Michigan did not have Kenneth Grant, Mason Graham in the middle, they did not have Josiah Stewart on the edge, they did not have Makari Page in the secondary, they did not have Will Johnson as a corner, not to mention Mullings and Edwards gone.
Yeah.
And we have our same quarterback though. None of those guys left for the draft. Those guys were all there on the roster.
They hit the portal, they're going in Whitewater.
Even Alex Orji, who's in the portal, had to come in because Davis Warren, he tore his ACL, by the way.
I saw that.
And to win that game, I tell you what, Wink Martindale, what he's done with that defense and shutting those two teams down, and then how in the hell did they beat Ohio State, by the way? Let's go back to that. After watching Ohio State these last couple of weeks.
Well, I agree with you 100%. Ohio State right now is probably the betting odds to win, right?
Oh, are they rolling?
But it goes back to your boy Ryan Day and just the ego and how he was sick of being considered soft, and Michigan was so tough, and he was going to beat Michigan at their game, and now they win the national title. I suppose we could hang a banner in Ann Arbor saying, "Hey, we beat the national champs."
You probably should have tried to beat Michigan at Ohio State's game, and they would have been just fine. And then the other one too, everybody's hollering about the great South Carolina bunch.
Yeah, they didn't even show up,
and they lose to Illinois, right?
Yes.
And what happened at the end of that too? You got to help me out with that.
Okay.
A little bit. Address this for me.
This is the whole Beamer and Bielema.
Say that with a mouthful of coffee.
Well, I said it to him one time with a mouthful of scotch, but that's a story for another day. We got, and from what I understand, the whole substituting thing, right? If you run a guy on as the offense, the defense gets a chance to substitute. And I think there was some jockeying there. Like, obviously, if you're on offense and I'm on defense and you sub somebody a little bit late, we're going to sub and we're going to take our sweet time to try and burn down the play clock because you have to let us sub. And I think there was some banter back and forth there.
Something to do with a T signal?
Yeah, that's the delay. You gotta wait and all that stuff. So then he went over. It was an Illinois player that was hurt, and Bielema went over on his way to the player, gave that delay signal or hold up signal in Beamer's face and kind of smiled at him, which whatever, And then Beamer just turned to a big old baby. And he was still bantering about it on Twitter like a few days later. It's like, dude, grow up.
Okay, well, I wanted to know what your take was on that because I just listened to the press conference. I listened to him harping about it. Obviously, he was a little crabby with the loss also, but I didn't know exactly what went down there. I tried to read on it, and so yeah, I was clueless. But good for the Big Ten.
And I don't know if there's anything more to that between those two, but when you were a little kid on the playground and somebody was calling you names and picking on you, did your parents tell you to whine about it, or did they just say ignore it and move on?
Exactly.
So
the big signature win that the SEC got in this tournament, or the Bulls, was Ole Miss beating Duke.
Yeah.
Duke, right? Not Coach K. Duke, football Duke. That's their signature victory. So I don't want to hear anything from the SEC or anybody else about should have been there, should have been this. The Big Ten took it to you, and I loved it. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about the Final Four.
Okay, so you got Georgia losing to Notre Dame. That was a whale of a game. I enjoyed watching that one. So Notre Dame is going to play Penn State, and I believe that's Thursday. They're playing Thursday, Friday. Is that right?
I don't know. We can find out.
And then on the other side of it, you have Texas and Ohio State. I got to tell you, I am not impressed with Texas at all.
Yeah, well, speaking of good games, that Texas-Arizona State game was one for the ages. I mean, you got to give Arizona State a ton of credit because they looked like they were it looked like SMU against Penn State to start that game.
Yeah.
I mean, they could not move the ball, just getting physically beaten up front on both sides. And then all of a sudden, mistakes from Texas help out, right? Yeah. And they've done this a little bit now.
They sure have.
They kick themselves in the caboose a little bit. Next thing you know, these teams hang around, and lo and behold, Arizona State comes back, just did so many things. They had to do so many things right to get back in that game, and they did. But number one, I'll tell you what, that Scatterbo was one tough nut, boy. Can he run?
Was he hung over when he was playing? So I'm throwing up on the
Yeah,
sideline.
he said he wasn't feeling good. He was puking up water, and he's a tough kid though.
He's a guy you're going to give it to on 4th and 1.
Oh.
But he had a day, and the Genty, the other back, obviously, he had a little tougher going against a pretty good team. But Scatterbo was worth every penny of watching that game. Plus, he threw a touchdown pass.
Yeah, you're right here jumping at Notre Dame, Penn State, 7:30 on Thursday. So yeah, threw a pass, caught a touchdown. I think ran 1 or 2 in. Tough kid, but Texas is going to have to clean stuff up, or they're going to get rolled by the Ohio State.
They are. I'm not impressed with them, and I haven't watched a lot of them. And just watching the last couple of weeks, not real sold on Quinn Ewers.
Well, I'll say this though: when they had to have him late in that game, when things hit the fan, he did come through, make some big plays for him. Had some good reads with Arizona State's defense to get those touchdown passes. But you're right; he's going to have to play a little better than just a quarter and a half to beat Ohio State. But their turnovers and mistakes, critical mistakes that they make, aren't going to cut it against the Buckeyes the way they're playing.
How about the non-targeting call?
I don't understand it.
Isn't that the letter of the law?
I just don't get it. So, has there ever been, or has there been a explanation from the officials as to why that was not, or the NCAA
I have
as
not
to why
heard.
they're not overturned? Because that's a pretty critical call.
It sure is.
It's a field goal or close to field goal range for Arizona State. I don't think they had a great kicker, so it's nothing automatic, but it puts them down there where they're not punting. I don't understand it. I just don't. What?
So I mean, if you miss it in real time, which again officials can do that happens. But when you review it and you still deem it, I mean, the guy led with his head. He hit him in the head.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It
so
should be the definition of it. I don't get it. And then Franklin's got a couple wins now, but we talked about Penn State having that easier ride to get in there, right? They have an easier path to get to the Final Four. They took advantage of that. So I think that game is a lock. I really do. That Penn State Notre Dame game is going to be tough. Check the spread on that. Well, now that we're talking.
I think that'll be the better of the two games. I think Ohio State's going to probably pound Texas. The way Ohio State is playing, it pains me to say that, but Notre Dame, Penn State has the potential to be a slobber knocker, shall we say? But right now, Notre Dame is just playing pretty well. The end of that game, they played without their stud running back too.
Right.
And those other guys did not look bad at all.
So we're looking at.
I'm guessing 3.
Notre Dame is minus 1.5.
1.5 only?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there you go. Penn State plus 1.5, and then the other one, Texas is plus 6. So Buckeyes are just under a touchdown favorite in that one.
Yeah, I think if I were betting on it, I'd take Notre Dame and I'd take Ohio State at both those spreads. I just think both of those guys.
See, Notre Dame's got a D end from Traverse City Central.
Yep, I remember that name. Burnham?
Burnham, yeah.
Yeah, I remembered him signing there.
He made a play early in that game, and they said from Traverse City, and I checked, but he went to Traverse City Central. So, yeah, that's those are my takes on it. I would have loved to watch that Scadbo kid one more week, though. Just a tough nut, runs low to the ground. See the picture of him when he was little too. He had a mohawk, and he must have been a pain in the ass for his elementary teachers, I'm sure.
Oh, I bet you he would have had some timeouts in your elementary gym class. One last thing on the Notre Dame Georgia game. How about the sideline flag?
Yeah. So okay, the
was
female ref threw that, correct? Not that that matters.
It was no.
It wasn't. Is that the one I'm thinking of? Somebody got run into.
Yeah, Georgia had hit a pass.
Oh, that was that kid. He was like a red shirt.
Yeah, who had his jersey on, got excited, and
I forgot about that.
That one. I was listening to some talking heads this weekend too, and I think we're all in agreement. The refs got to swallow the ego there. It's not like he got trucked. The kid was a little overzealous. You bump into him, throw him the warning flag. And the poor kid. I feel awful for him. He's gonna be like Bartman now.
Jen was she was ticked off because they kept showing him.
Yeah.
The TV guys were commenting on
Oh,
it. Then he even brought his name out there.
Yeah, and by the way, here's where his parents live and his cell phone number, But
the look on his face, then his buddy over there just kind of chuckling. I think they got a field goal out of it, which helped.
They did, but they were on the 6-yard line.
Yeah, that's true.
So that was again something that it's going to get forgotten about at some point, but it had a big play on that. 15 yards was huge.
Yeah, he darted out a little bit into the white there when that completion happened, and the ref. You got to keep those open too. It's not the ref is on a dead sprint down that sideline to get up there. And how many times at high school level, we hear back up guys, and you try to keep them back, and that kid stepped out and clipped them, and oh man.
But how about just throw your flag, because they don't have to call the penalty. You more often than not, you just get the warning, right? Give them the sideline warning. Happens again, and probably would have been a good time to give the warning instead of the 15 yards. And again to turn some of the momentum in that game.
Yeah, no doubt. So we'll see. It should be interesting. I look forward to those games. I do like the playoffs. Say what you want about the games that were blowouts.
But we're watching the blowouts regardless.
It's so many more meaningful games than just the bowl games, and I really like it. So we'll see what happens moving forward if they get to 16 or when they get to 16. But I believe it's going to happen. So
I got one more little thing I'd like your take on here, Oj.
Mm-hmm.
Did you happen to watch your Minnesota Gophers in their bowl game?
All I can say is it took about 3/4 of that game before I realized what might happen to our beloved coach PJ for the victory. And all of a sudden, and this is a tradition with that Miracle Whip Bowl.
The Duke Mayo Bowl.
Oh my God. Tell me he didn't enjoy that.
Well, he was pumping his fist. I had to stay up.
I bet you he kept that stuff on him, like bus ride home. I bet you when he got home, he still had it on him, dried up to show his wife. Probably did a few push-ups with that stuff on, selfies, just to put in his frame in his coach's room with him covered up in it.
Putting all the kids' lockers in the locker room.
Covered up in his white cream.
Did you actually watch that game though?
No.
Duke Mayo advertised. They had mayo everywhere, all these different mayos, and the commentators, they were doing these things where they're dipping stuff in mayo to try it, and they had dilly bars. You didn't see this at all?
Dilly bars, like the chocolate?
Ice cream, yeah. So they dipped it in mayo, and one guy goes, then the other guy put it in his mouth and darn near threw up in the garbage can right on live air.
Well, you should. No, I didn't watch it. If I can avoid PJ, I will. But yeah, congratulations to the Big Ten and Coach Fleck for rowing his boat well covered in frothy white
mayo. Yeah. So next week we'll have some semis to talk about. Anything else from the college football scene?
Not really for football. We'll get into Northern Arizona here a little bit later, but I will say this, and we'll start talking a little more about it as pro football winds down. I did watch a little college basketball the last few days, more than I have.
Mm-hmm.
And this is probably not a take that a basketball genius would have to come up with, but I'll tell you what, the SEC is loaded.
Yes.
Holy moly, they got some teams. I watched Tennessee yesterday, and our boy there.
Bruce Pearl?
No, he's with Auburn.
Oh,
I had some choice words for him about 100 episodes ago. Barnes?
Barnesy, Rick Barnes, yes.
And their team is physical, and they just destroyed Calipari's Arkansas Razorbacks yesterday. So they're number 1 in the country. Bruce Pearl with Auburn, they're right up. They might be 2 in the country. I don't know.
I think they are. And I think they're kind of carbon copy teams.
Oh, man, they go at it. And then I watched, earlier in the day, I watched Florida and Kentucky. And if you like teams getting up and down the court and scoring the basketball, that's one hell of a game. It was 101-95 or something like that. Both teams ranked. I think Florida lost the game. They were undefeated. And there's other ranked teams, and those are just 4 of them in the SEC. So that conference is damn good. Michigan won last night. State's been playing pretty well in the Big Ten, so we'll keep an eye on that as we go. Wisconsin, we got some Wisconsin people on this that listen to this pod. They scored 116 points
this week
against
in one game.
One game.
Come on.
They beat Iowa, who Iowa plays fast. I mean,
Yeah.
it's always up there like that. But yeah, 100. I think they hit 21 threes or something like that. So
In one game.
in one game,
Not the season.
in one game. So the Badgers put it together for a game. We'll see what happens with them. But yeah, I think it will be make for some fun college basketball during the weeks.
Tech Huskies knocked off Grand Valley at Grand Valley, and then you see what happened yesterday?
Buzzer beater.
We were watching that, and they came back, tied it, went to overtime. Huge shot to take the lead, and then the guy from Davenport hit literally at the buzzer. They had to review it, and so good battles there. Good
Yeah,
game to watch.
that would have been a nice one to get both of those for Tech. Heading down to Grand Rapids, but got the one. I think the women's split, if I
They
believe.
did. I think Grand Valley. I think Willie's team is one in the country.
Northern kind of tussled with them on the women's side a little bit. I saw that score. Northern's men won like 6-7 in a row
Yeah.
too. So, yeah, that's where we're at with that. I don't know what else.
Our Parkside Rangers won 6-7 in a row.
They just beat. I think they beat Wayne. So
they had a win.
Yeah, I didn't get much from Coach Riegel other than he was a little disappointed in his Pittsburgh Steelers right now. So
Yeah. Well, let's shift gears to the NFL. As this is being taped, we're getting ready to start the last week of the season. Some pretty meaningful games, and then a lot of non-meaningful games.
yeah, I mean there's a ton of games that mean absolutely nothing today. There's a couple of games where it means something for one team but not the other, which really creates screwy spreads. For the odds makers,
Right.
It makes it tough not knowing what these teams are going to do. I mean, you can be scoreboard watching. I went through that AFC deal with Denver, Miami, and Cincinnati. I think those are the three there. The Bengals have to have. They won last night, good win against
Yep.
Pittsburgh. They have to have both Denver and Miami lose to get in, but Miami gets in with a Denver loss.
Which is going to be
And
tough
Denver's
for
playing the Chiefs, but the Chiefs are resting a bunch of people.
everybody.
So, you're looking at the scores as a Dolphin fan or Dolphin player. You might know your fate during the game even. So it makes for some screwy afternoon
And
football.
Dolphins, Tua's out, and then the two receivers are questionable with injuries. So I think that'll be a tough day for
Yeah,
Miami.
and I think the NFC mainly it comes down to the Tampa Bay Atlanta deal. I think those two are. I'm not sure exactly how.
And they both have relatively easy games today.
Yeah, Tampa. I think they're double digit
14
favorites
and a
now.
half.
So that'll be one to keep an eye on. And I think other than that, in the NFC, it's just seeding. Like where
Right.
Green Bay ends up going right now, I think it'd be Philly, but that could change.
Their game is meaningful because they could the 6 or 7 seed, and then the weird thing is like the Lions and Vikings both have 2 losses. I think the loser of that one drops to the 4 seed, 5
They
seed.
won't get a home playoff game. And I don't like. With that being said, that type of situation. Tell me a time that you remember a regular season game having this much meaningful impact on playoff scenarios than that Viking Lion game tonight.
Yeah,
It's huge. I mean, those and the Lions just limping in defensively. I think Anzalone's coming back
That's
today.
what they said he's going to probably play.
So that should help them. But man, oh man, I mean, they're down to third string guys in that D line. Their secondary's beat up, but they keep scoring. I mean, they can put points on the board, and Minnesota's got weapons everywhere. So everybody's expecting a shootout in that one. But it's a ton of. Can you imagine 14 wins and you're a 5 seed? You don't even get a home game. So that's what's going on with that tonight in Detroit. So.
I think one of the things to if you're a sports bettor, it's probably a day to not bet spreads and stuff, but prop bets.
Stay on the prop side.
Well, I was watching the ESPN and they're talking about all these people that have the incentives in their contracts that are attainable today.
Give me that list.
I will give you that list. But that's something that a guy needs 85 receiving yards, things like that. Those are things that people probably pay attention to today.
Well, that is interesting stuff right there. Boy, I bet you our listeners would like to know what we're looking at right now.
Well, if they watch ESPN, they probably get it. I'm sure you can search it. But yeah, I think you're going to probably see a lot
Cheat
more.
sheet for the day. Send me that picture.
So,
yeah, well, I'll be looking forward to it, but more important than any of that, and more important than even that Lion-Viking game tonight, is the fact that 2 weeks ago, in our little competition, you had and believe it or not, you were down 2 games to me. And I've managed in those last 2 weeks to go 4-2, which I'm very happy with.
yep.
To keep you at bay and keep you behind me. However, the only way you could come through is by going 6-0 in your last 6 picks, and you did it.
Well, I like to
3-0,
finish strong.
3-0, finish strong. Dang, that's impressive. So you are coming off 6 consecutive correct picks in the spread to tie it. We are both 29-15-1 going into the final week to see who can earn. Well, we'll see.
A crappy pizza or
Crappy
a
pizza.
bowl of soup.
We're gonna make sure it's. We're gonna make sure I get something good this week, or this week after we're done here. So let's get our picks. Let's get that done right now.
Okay.
Because we this is a big one. I know people are just can't wait. Jesse from Appleton bitches about this part of it every time.
So who's up?
I'm gonna go. I deserve it.
Oh, you're
6-0.
4-2.
Okay. This will probably drive you nuts. I think I'm going to take the Packers right off the bat.
Bugger!
-10. I'm going to jump
Hey,
it.
they're up 10?
It's up to 10.
Oh, I had them at 9.5.
I'm getting them at 10.
You bugger.
Green Bay -10 at home against the Bears. You're on the clock.
You're playing dirty pool here. Well, mine is, I'm going to take the Chargers. I got them at -6.5.
I would have taken them too.
That's why I took it.
They're at -7. You can get 6.5.
Well, 7's but 7, that's a win anyway.
No, we count them. Yeah, that pushes our wins. All right. Chargers -7 for you.
Yep. Dead air.
I know. I'm gonna go back up and take the Falcons at -7.5.
You looked at my sheet when you got in here, didn't
Crucial game for them. So give me Atlanta at -7.5.
you? Okay. I'm going to take the Bills, 3.5. I know they're going to sit a bunch of people. Josh Allen will play a little bit. But they're playing New England, who has nothing to play for. It seems like they're in disarray. So.
Other than draft positioning, right?
Yeah. So
get the Patriots, get the #1 pick.
Yeah, I think there's no reason for New England to win that game. Buffalo just has too much in it. I got them at 3.5.
Yep. Nope. You're getting them at 3.
Oh,
let's see if you've got one going your way.
Wow.
And lastly, but not leastly, I guess I'm going to go with Baker and the boys over in Tampa. See if they can roll New Orleans. It's 14.5, which I don't like.
Yeah, but that could be 28.5.
So if they can win that by 17, something like that is where I'm looking for and hoping for. So give me Tampa Bay at -14.5.
Okay, and my last one, and I saved this one for last because I knew you would not take this, but I'm going to take Washington over your Cowboys at 6.5.
See if Dallas throws Trey Lance out there at all today.
That's what I'm hearing, that he's going to probably get the start.
And you're getting 7, but again, it doesn't matter. So -7 is Washington. There we go. So you are finishing the season with the Chargers, Bills, Washington. I got Green Bay, Atlanta, Tampa Bay to see who wins the prize.
What happens if we tie? So we're tied right now overall?
We're tied, yeah. We can easily. If it's a tie, then we got to come back next week and do playoff sudden death.
Okay.
Or something. We pick one, and I don't know. We'll come up with something, but yeah, we can certainly tie.
Penalty shots, 2-point conversions. Oh, okay, yeah. And so again, I think it's going to be a day to watch football. It should be interesting. You might see some weird things happen, but we'll go from there.
All right, Copper Country Sauna is the premier sauna builder in the Keweenaw, led by 2 brothers-in-law that share a passion for saunas and want to provide custom saunas to the Copper Country residents. When you are ready to throw some water on the rocks, visit our website at coppercountrysauna.com or give us a call at 906-281-9427.
Well, let's give our tens of fans an update on Northern Arizona hoops. Again, if it's your first podcast, the head coach at Northern Arizona is Shane Burkhardt, who's a Hancock native. We both know, so we kind of follow him, give them little updates on there, and exchange a lot of weird texts after games.
Yeah, talk about a roller coaster of emotion and games for the Lumberjacks here the last couple, eh?
Yeah.
I mean, it's that loss, the Idaho State game was tough to swallow. I mean, for a fan of watching that game.
Yeah, I know we both watched it on TV. Northern Arizona had I think a 19-point lead
in the second half,
and they ended up falling to Idaho State 67-72.
It was one of those games. If you're a basketball, guy, girl, whatever, if you watch enough basketball, there's just times, whether you coached it or played in it, where you do everything you can to try to stop momentum, and you can just see the kids tightening up. They weren't moving the ball like they had earlier. That zone kind of got them a little bit up perimeter happy with jump shots. And then it carried over to the defensive side. Their frustrations, I think, on offense carried over defensively. That little point guard from Idaho State was getting wherever he wanted.
He had 0 in the first
half.
half.
And he finished with 20 plus or whatever. And next thing you know, there just wasn't enough timeouts to control that landslide there. And Idaho State comes back and gets that win. That was really tough loss, which I was questioning how they were going to be able to bounce back from that. I mean, that's credit to Coach Burkhardt and those kids, his whole staff, because you got a day or whatever it was to get these guys to regroup, to refocus, and then play another quality team in Weber State at home again, and then talk about what happened at the start of the game too. That was another kick in the teeth for them.
Yeah, so coming off that tough loss, and like I said, we knew Coach Burkhardt was going to have those boys ready to roll. And Weber State has had a lot of success at Northern Arizona. I think, listening on the radio, I think there's 11 in a row they've won, either over Northern Arizona.
Yeah, it was something
Weber
like
State's is a pretty good program. In that Thursday night game, Trent McLaughlin was held to 12 points. Like you said, that zone, so that you kind of figured that he was going to come out with something to prove as well. And then you have Carson Tout, the big guy. He's the #1 rebounder in the nation. And early on in that game, and I did not watch it, I just did a little listening this morning on the radio broadcast. So if I'm understanding correctly, Tout is the man on the board, right? He's had phenomenal numbers every week and got a little chippy. Someone from Weber State sounds like maybe did a little extracurriculars, knocked him down, and then Carson got up and got in his face, did a little pushing, shoving, and was ejected. And then the other big guy came off the bench to defend his teammate, and he was ejected. So they played that whole game yesterday without Carson Tout and Jack Wistrcill, #1 rebounder in the nation, somehow found a way to come up with an 80-77 win.
Yeah, I mean, and to have that happen early on in that game, coming off of what just happened against Idaho State, that's a credit to that whole bunch there to regroup and to stay focused and to keep fighting and get a huge home win. So that was great to see.
And McLaughlin did step up like we figured. He ended up with 30 again. So I'm sure he wanted to redeem himself from the slow performance on Thursday. So again, huge win. The win is nice, but just to see the way they responded with all of the adversity and handled that. So I think that's a good sign heading into next week, where the Lumberjacks will be on the road at Montana State and at Montana.
Okay.
So those will be some big games. And then, was able to steal Coach Burkhardt's post-game interview from their big win yesterday against Weber State. Here we go. So, Oj, last week we had an interview with Coach Lampa. Well received, good to talk with him. But this week what we'll do is let's get back and do a little random talking about the book, Got Your Number. We had talked about some of the trophies and awards and things like that. And this one I thought was a little bit interesting. The 10 most indelible baseball statistics. And the list is, pretty noticeable. I think everybody would recognize them. I'll just kind of buzz through them, and then maybe we got some things that we'd like to add, remove, or whatever. But at number 1 is Joe DiMaggio's hit streak of 56 games. Next you have Roger Maris, 62 home runs in a season. 3, Lou Gehrig's 2,130 consecutive games. At 4 you have Bob Gibson's 1.12 ERA. And then next on the list is Roberto Clemente, 3,000 hits. Ted Williams, 406 batting average. Cy Young, 511 career wins. Babe Ruth, 714 home runs. Hank Aaron, 755 home runs. And Nolan Ryan, 7 career no-hitters. Now some of those on there are just unbreakable, right? The 56-game hitting streak is probably going to be a tough one to break. But as far as I think just having the stature of these records, you know, what are you taking away from here?
Well, is the Clemente 3,000 hits? Is that because of how short his career was?
I think so.
You know, I guess I'm not sure where.
And I think that is,
he died tragically, pretty young, right?
very young. And I think that brings up the whole 3,000 hit plateau.
I just got the not off this subject. I just got another one from Heikki Karhu here, by the way. Just off the air, I showed my partner here that Heikki's got a 15 bet day going today, and he just corrected himself. He says, "I forgot the 2 on DraftKings, make it 17." Yeah, these are great. Man, oh man, hey, how do you rank them?
Well, what we've been doing is our top 3, I think, right? Top 3 or top 5. We're not ranking our 10, but now is there right off the bat? And when we brought this up, you had one on there that you brought up that is not on here.
The saves.
The saves thing.
And I'm just looking at that right now. Yeah, I can't imagine those getting touched either. So if you look at the top 2, Mariano Rivera is all-time leader with 652 saves, and then Trevor Hoffman's behind him with 601. After Trevor Hoffman, it drops all the way down to 478 saves from Lee Smith.
Lee Smith.
Yeah, so think about that. You know, those guys are up 652 for Rivera. Who the heck is going to pitch long enough and close games long enough to ever get to that?
And you got your team obviously has to be successful for a long period of time as well.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, so that's one I wanted to throw out there. Lee Smith, Kenley Jansen, Craig Kimbrell, Francisco Rodriguez, John Franco, and Billy Wagner. Those are the names behind those 2. So
wow.
Yeah, to me, I think that DiMaggio hit streak is untouchable, especially with Ichiro no longer playing. The Nolan Ryan career no-hitters,
You'll never see anyone get
untouchable, especially the way things are going in today's era of baseball. And then I think somebody could get to 400 in the batting average.
You think
so?
so?
Get to 406. Of course, Ichiro is no longer playing. In consecutive games with Gehrig, 2,130. Who's going to play that? So
Cal Ripken.
Oh, that's right. He runs it.
He
Beat
beat
it.
But you'll never see that again.
No.
I mean, you will probably never see anyone play 162 games in a row.
Yeah,
So,
I guess I'm looking at it as unbreakable instead of indelible, whatever that word means.
Yeah, exactly. I think I agree with you. The hit streak 56. I mean, first of all, that's amazing what he did, and I think, you know, as far as just records that go, I think the 406 is something that I don't know if it'll get broken. I guess that there's a better chance of that than the other records, but I think pitching is a lot better right now. You know, they're seeing a lot more different stuff, and 755 is just a record that is synonymous with baseball, right?
Well, it's interesting. They have the three home run records that are in there. All have been broken.
Right.
The steroid era wiped out those, but Maris's 62 home runs was broken, and then Ruth's 714. Of course, that was broken by Hank Aaron, but Aaron's 755, and those are just indelible baseball statistics.
That's a good use of that word if you knew what it meant, right? But Yeah, so we'll do that from time to time. We'll see what comes to the table next week. But why don't we hit the mailbag, Oj? We got a couple of questions here. Should I start with Matt from Mohawk?
Yeah, let's go see what he's got.
Just random again. Philosophical basketball question. If a team plays half-court zone, do you consider that to be a little soft?
I guess at one part in my coaching career, I was against zones. I think a lot of people had come up as, try to build your team to be a tough, hard-nosed, man-to-man team. You shy away from the zone defense. I changed though as the years went on, and we would tinker with a lot of different types of zones. Usually for not as your base defense in a game, but just to mix it up on dead ball situations. You come out and do some different things. I would have never. I'll tell you what. You watch all those years we watched Syracuse and Jimmy Boeheim out there. Never once did I think his teams were soft, and that's all he ever played. But in college, you're able to recruit some of those guys that he wanted, those big, long wings.
They have longer wingspan than
the
Calumet boys.
So you don't see that very often, though, right? I think most coaches probably just throw zones in a little bit here and there to break momentum, try to get teams on the perimeter. I don't know how many are just true zone coaches. So I don't look at it as soft. I just look at it as, I guess, it's just a different way to try to win basketball games.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you 100%. Like I said, I've always been man-to-man, but we would, just said when the machine was rolling, we would throw a little half-court zone in there, half-court trap, just to change things up. And I think you do that in football, too, right? Football, you don't just line up the same way every time on defense, right? You change.
Oh, for sure.
We've always been multiple in defense, so...
Well, the secondary coverages, your man in your zone, there's all kinds of stuff there, but, yeah, changing things up. The one thing that I really struggled with zones was the rebounding, lack of rebounding out of it, defensive boards.
Yeah.
You spend a lot of time with your man-to-man doing drills to try to, be a good rebounding team, and you just didn't have those same situations with that zone. You're blocking out areas and trying to find different guys and communicate. So that's the one thing I hated about the zones, was giving up those second chance opportunities.
Also a way to hide a guy if he's in foul trouble.
Good point.
But yeah, I'm not sure why Matt from Mohawk thinks it's soft, but...
Well, I don't know if he does. He's asking if we think it's soft.
Well, don't you think he thinks it's soft if he...
I think he's soft.
Yeah. Another random question here.
All right, what else we got?
I'll read this one here too. This is coming from Jesse in Appleton, huge Shane Burkhardt fan. Big win for the Jacks yesterday. And I'm not going to lie to you, this is actually an awesome question. I'm not sure where he comes up with this stuff. Probably while he's
in his garage
with the leaf blower.
Of course, it's cold now, so they must put him in the basement over there. Wherever the rest of the family sticks him.
In the backyard in that chair. So here's Jesse's question. You can only pick one of these options. Which one will you each pick? So these got 4 options here. Number 1, season tickets for life for your favorite team. 2, your team wins the title this year, but never again. 3, free pizza and beer for life. Or 4, one team of your choice never wins a title ever again. There's a couple of good...
Well, I'll deal with each one of these separately here. So, the season tickets for life, that sounds like a blast. But we're stuck where we are here. So
Green Bay is the only place you could really do it.
You'd have a chance to go to every single Packer game if you wanted.
Would you want to sit outside today?
Well,
at Lambeau?
So for me, it's I can't choose that one just because of location. Your team wins the title this year, but never again. I'll get back to that one. Free pizza and beer for life. Now that sounds fun, but not very healthy. Got enough cholesterol issues without having it all free for me. And then your team of choice never wins a title ever again. That's kind of funny.
It is, because you'd be kind of vindictive to select that one.
Oh yeah, but I got to go back to number 2, and I think I would take that, and if you can give me the Brewers win the World Series this year, and never again. I'll ride with that one till I'm done. I think that's the one for me. I've seen the other teams win it, Dallas and the Bucks. So I would pick that. Yeah.
That's a good selection.
Brewers winning the World Series next year is where I would go.
I gotta be honest, I didn't see you going that route, but yeah, the Brewers would be a great option. So you could see them be in your lifetime. Season tickets, it would be great. Like I said, if you had season tickets for the Packers, I mean they're very hard to get, right? They're extremely hard to get. I just don't know that I have any desire to sit outside in January at Lambeau Field. I mean, I guess I could sell them then if I don't use them. I mean, is that legal?
Yeah, you probably could. Well, I know you could.
So I could take that one. Your team wins the title this year, but never again. I said I could go with that. See the Tigers win one more.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's been a long thing. Pizza and beer thing sounds great, but again, cholesterol, other issues that I have, probably wouldn't be the wisest choice. And let's be honest, pizzas and beers aren't that expensive around here. If you're at the GLI, the beers are. Free beers at the GLI. Or the one team of your choice never wins a title again. But I'd really like to do that. I'd really like to take that one. But I don't think I can be that vindictive. I mean, it'd be so much easy for me to say Cowboys never again.
I think who you would pick.
Well,
who would you pick? I think the Cowboys.
Oh, yeah,
what did they do to you? You got Vikings, you got the Lions.
But they've never won.
Ohio State.
Ooh. Ooh. I think that's where we're going, Oj.
Picking the Buckeyes to never win one again?
Yeah, I could take the Tigers to win the World Series, or do we take the Buckeyes to never? Let's do that. Let's get rid of the Buckeyes.
They're probably gonna win one in 2 weeks here, but
not if I go with this question. Buckeyes it is.
All right.
You're done. Sorry, Ryan Day.
Oh boy. Did I tell you the Brewers had a 2-run lead against the Mets in that playoff game? Devin Williams came in, 9th inning. Yeah, all right. This is a good one. Always good to have new people sending in some questions.
Well, I don't know, is it really even a question?
Well, I don't know.
It's just more of a compliment.
We'll see what happens here with well, we'll see your take on this. You will be happy to know I've been wandering this world for 49 years, and I listened to my first podcast. Thanks to a little help from my daughter Maya Lee, who swindled a t-shirt off me way back when, by the way.
Nice.
And it was saunas, sidles, and 3-team parlays. That's worse than what Coach Twardzik.
Yeah.
She butchered our name. Whatever that means. I'm happy to report you guys got a passing grade, something Crouchy didn't get much of in Lake Linden. That's kind of
I
funny.
always got an A in gym.
Oh boy. Now I will have to chalk up my second podcast when you roar back to the internet waves. The interview with Chops / Coach Lampa was great. Keep up the mediocre work. Soon you will have hundreds of listeners. Sincerely, the 4th best number 13 of Lake Linden football history. Top 4 number 13s as follows. This is kind of like Kevin from the High Rent District giving us statistics.
About restaurants.
So he has the top 4 number 13s as follows. Number 1, Sean Norton. Number 2, Andy Crouch. Number 3, Brett Jarvis. Oof, that might be a stretch there, but anyway. And number 4, I mean Brett and Andy could have been flip-flop. And number 4, so he's got written out here, the first name, just the first letter is a J. Then there's 3 blanks, so that must mean his first name is 4 letters, starting with J. The last name, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 letters, and there's a K at the beginning of it and an A in the middle. What do you think of that? Who would he be talking about there?
Are you doing this for real? You're kind of creeping me out. That would be none other than Freddie Joel Karen.
Does he qualify as number 4, you think? Or is he?
Hey, Freddie was a heck of a football player.
Does he qualify as number 4? He also brought up the scrapyard, the actual answer to scrapyard's question.
It's irrelevant. It is. It really is. But Yeah, there's his list there. Yeah, he says, I'm guessing Crouchy might disagree with being number 2. Absolutely I disagree with that. I shouldn't even be on that list.
Give me another one. Give me a fifth name there.
A fifth name? For 13?
Is 13 like the... Well, is that Carter wore it?
Yeah, Carter wore 13.
Is that like Michigan's number 1? Like the receivers, you get that?
I don't know.
Like, is 13 something you wanted right after Norton?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I always wanted 13. Yeah, again, Norton wore it. And the funny thing with that is, I don't know if we can even give him number 13 because after his junior year with all those injuries, he went to 79. He went from a quarterback and a linebacker to a defense and offensive lineman.
So you got to put a little asterisk by number 1 there, I think.
But one fun fact about that is that year when Sean was a senior, they ended up in the semis that year. And Troy Londo was the quarterback. Troy got hurt for a couple plays. Norton played quarterback for a handful of snaps with jersey 79 on there.
Really?
Probably hand pads and arm pads on too.
So and obviously now this is, so those 4 are thrown out there, but there have been some good players also who wore that recently and stuff like that. I didn't realize that. Like, I never put that together as 13 being a kind of a special jersey in the in the Lake Lemon football program.
Well,
so.
yeah, and Freddie wore, I think he wore it the year after I graduated.
All right. Well, good to hear from Joel Karanen. Yeah, I don't know. That's always nice to have those newbies, right? Send us some text, emails.
So he, I did send him some updates on past interviews, which I knew he'd be all over. And he said he's working, that he's hooked.
Did you give him the list of listener lyrics?
You know what? I'm still handwriting that out.
I'm sure he's waiting desperately to see that.
Yeah, I'm guessing he's not. But located 8 miles south of Lake Lemon on the Bojack Road, the Dreamland Restaurant's your choice for great dining. Family owned and operated for over 100 years. Whether you're in the mood for their Mexican Monday specials, burgers, pizza, or Friday fish fry, Dreamland is your next stop. And now, I'm sure this is the part that Joel's been waiting to hear, is the Blue Notebook opening.
Hey, look at this. I'm down to about 10 pages left in this baby.
What are we going to do? Are we going to auction that off?
Oh, that'd be something.
This could be like when you did golfing with the pros or whatever, golfing with the coaches.
See how many, can you put that on a poll? See if people want to bid on this?
We could do that.
Once it's done, I gotta go, and then somebody's gotta get me a new book too. For however long we do this ridiculous podcast. So anyway, I've been trying to find a perfect Linda Ronstadt song to add to this list, and I've had this song as a potential candidate for listening to lyrics, but the problem is Linda's voice is too damn beautiful to sing about a heroin addict who was in love with a Mexican girl. So her version of the song is great, as is anything that she's recorded, but the most appropriate and best version of this song is by its writer and composer, and that is Warren Zevon. You remember Werewolves of London?
I do.
Werewolves in London? So that was Warren. He's a California, LA guy. So he was a mainstay in that LA Laurel Canyon rock scene in the 70s. And in this song, he writes about an addict who is in total despair. Not to mention Carmelita's own struggles, no longer receiving welfare checks, and how the country won't provide her with more methadone. Real happy song, isn't it? In the final verse, and I was a little curious, now I'm wondering if you get this. I didn't quite get what Zevon says or was meaning when he mentions that he had to pawn his Smith Corona so he could meet his dealer on Alvarado Street by the Pioneer Chicken Stand. Now he mentions meet my man on Alvarado Street by the Pioneer Chicken Stand. But do you know what a Smith Corona is? And I did not. I just knew this in the song and I kind of sang my way through it.
Smith Corona?
Yeah.
It's not a type of beer?
Nope.
Handgun.
Nope.
Backpack.
But when you say handgun, because actually I think in Linda Ronstadt's version she changed it to Smith & Wesson, pawning a Smith & Wesson, but
it's a guitar.
A Smith Corona is an actual typewriter. It's an old vintage typewriter from like the 50s and 60s.
And you can pawn those?
Well, that's what he's doing to get a few bucks to go buy more of his whatever he needs. So yeah, a Smith Corona, it's an old school typewriter, and maybe it means that he was actual writer too, in this song. So anyway, thought you should the listeners might want to know that. I'm curious if Jesse from Appleton knew that, because he is a fan of this song. Not that I'm playing it for him. But anyway, enjoy Warren Zevon singing Carmelita.
Real happy song. Well, way to ring in the new year with a little meth and heroin and haunting of typewriters.
It's a hell of a song, though.
Really? Yeah, I don't think it's going to make my playlist.
Did you listen to it?
Well, yeah, I had to listen to it.
Yeah, but did you listen to it, or was it just on in the background?
Well, I was actually listening as I was getting it ready for our production.
That's the whole point of this section of the pod here, is actually listening to the lyrics. Yeah,
there are some good lyrics in there. And don't let your kids under 18 listen. Hey, make sure you guys are following us on Twitter.
Don't I gotta read an ad?
You will. Oh yeah, we do. Oh, this is a big one too, because these people here, I'm spending way too much time with these days.
Oh yeah, watch out for the deer.
Holy cow, yes.
Listen to the Lyrics is brought to you by Keweenaw Auto Body, located on Pine Street in Calumet. They're your choice for quality collision and body repair since 1966. Sorry for laughing at you. They are open 8 to 5 Monday through Friday and 8 to 12 on Saturday. Give them a call at 906-337-1203.
And they are going to do some fantastic work for me as we repair my Suburban that was damaged by a deer that was way bigger than the one that you shot. But yeah, so thanks to Keweenaw Auto Body and Dreamland and Copper Country Sound and all the people that sponsor us. And again, make sure you're following us on all the social medias. We got Twitter, we got Instagram, even the TikTok.
We got the TikTok?
We got the TikTok.
But we don't have the Peacock. Is there any games on there that we gotta watch today? Or
isn't the Lions game on there?
Are you serious? Oh, that is streamed. That's a streamed game.
It's streamed, but is it on
Prime Video?
Oh boy, that stuff's got to stop too.
I think. Whatever.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Hey, we got to talk next week too. I want to get your take on the MVP race in the NFL.
That's actually I was thinking about that too.
That's pretty interesting.
It is.
Lamar's got some impressive stats, but I know there's some arguments on both sides of that. So anyway.
Yeah, it's going to bring up the issue. Do you keep giving it to the same guy?
41 touchdown passes and 5 picks.
Yeah. And there's a lot of other guys that are in the conversation. So.
And one might not even make the playoffs.
Yeah, this is true. So yeah, next week that'll be a good talking point. Again, listeners, send your questions to crouchyoj@gmail.com, and we'll be back next week. See you, Oj.
Talk to you later, Crouchy.